I'm gonna take Casey's old intro and say "Geeks Assemble" in honor of Age of Ultron. We're gonna get to that later, but what's up, guys? It's Thursday night, and welcome, as always, to the Geeks with Wives and Capes podcast. I am your crazy, cantankerous host for the evening, as always, Darth Sparrow. So great to be back with all my co-hosts. So, without further ado, let's start with the man who just recently had a birthday. And he loves celebrating his birthday, so I'm gonna bring it up right now for everybody. Happy birthday, Casey Walsh. What's up, man?
At least you didn't give away my age. I would have been really upset.
I know. I was gonna say the right age. I was gonna say like you're 25.
I'm 29 in the second power.
Yes. Man, happy birthday. It's good to see you, man. How are things?
Good. Just hanging out. My daughter broke my 60-inch TV, so I'm getting through that today. That was nice.
But
oh man,
that would make me cry.
So I get this phone call and I'm like, why is my wife calling me?
Yeah.
And I just talked to her.
Okay.
And she's like, the TV, it's not working. I'm like, what do you mean the TV's not working? Like, what do you like?
Yeah.
She's like, your daughter broke it. Like, like they panic, like they're like panicking. I'm like, oh, okay.
You're thinking it was something just like simple, like she just hit a button wrong or something like that, but she broke it, right?
Yeah, she broke it. No.
Yes.
I was like, she broke it, like she like broke it, like shattered it. She's like, no. Like the buttons don't work anymore. I'm like, the buttons don't work anymore.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, whatever. I'll deal with it when I get home. So it turns out she like nobody cares. It's so stupid. She turns out she like spilled like a cup of apple juice, and it like splattered on the screen, and then splattered on the screen, and then slid down into the cracks or the crevices.
Yes.
So this is the problem with new fucking TVs, and I hate this. Like, I want a tactile button. So like if you buy a new TV, there's no buttons anymore. There's like no buttons. Like you just touch like the flat surface.
Yeah.
So like somehow it got into there, and it's like interrupting the sensor. So whenever you turn on the TV, it just turns itself off like automatically.
Oh my god, dude.
So like it's turned off right now, and it's like drying. Like we're like, okay, let's just like maybe it'll dry out, and like we won't have to worry about it annoymore. It won't be a big deal.
Can we do like with the cell phone? Can we just put it in like a swimming pool of rice and maybe it'll dry out?
No, that went through my mind. I had that thought. I was like, do I have like a container right like long enough? Like I could probably get like
find a
pizza
box
boxes. No. I was gonna order a Pizza Hut, like that long pizza box, like the one they have now.
Right.
And then fill that right. It's like, sit and hold it there for like 2 hours, and like hopefully that would like fix it.
Yeah.
So this is just nobody cares about this once again, but I'm telling my story. So it's broken. My wife's like freaking out. She's like, I can't sit at home with no TV. This is ridiculous. Like we watch a lot of TV. Like TV is always on. So like she's like, I can't do this. There's no way. I'm like, well, and I gotta take my daughter to dance class, so like I can't like.
Yeah.
We have a other TV, and I can't like go move it, like it's heavy and shit. So like I can go move like this little like I don't know, maybe like 20.
The tiny little thing compared to your big 60-inch. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like sitting in front of the big screen TV. So it's so weird because you like look at it and it looks like the big screen TV is still on, but but it's just shrunk down to this little tiny picture.
Gotcha.
But it's all black around it. It's weird. I know.
It's like picture-in-picture, but you don't have any.
Yeah.
Back channel. So, hey, you got the $1,000 protection plan from Best Buy, right? I'm sure.
Absolutely
so you should
not.
be good to go, right, Casey?
You're absolutely not. Great.
Absolutely not. It's time to buy a new TV anyways. It's fine. So yeah,
let's go for that big curved one, buddy. That big, nice curved one that curves out.
So yeah, so if you see a tweet from me from tonight being like my TV died, then you'll know that I turned it back on and it did not work anymore.
Sorry to hear that, man. That's not a good birthday present.
It's okay. It's just a TV.
But you did get to go see Age of Ultron, right? And you did go get to like buy a lot of cool geek stuff, which is like, I mean,
yeah,
like
man, that movie sucks. Can we all agree that movie sucks?
I'm all
fucking terrible.
Hey, do I need to drive down the street and drag you out of your house and hurt you now? I'm not very far.
We'll talk about it later. It's fine.
Well, it sucks about your TV, man. Well, hope we get it resolved. But also as our super awesome, all knowledgeable geek with all things news and other awesome things, Mr. Brad Bell. What's up, man?
Just kind of accepting the hypocritical geek that I am. As I said last week on this podcast, I wouldn't be buying any Marvel. So I go into my comic book shop.
And all you bought was Marvel?
And no, not that. I did add the X-Men Secret War tie-ins to my pull list and the Planet Hulk Secret Wars tie-ins to my pull list.
Uh-huh.
So I kind of went against my whole anti-Marvel because of the movie thing, but I'm supporting the X-Men, which is a Fox property, okay? So
how
I
dare
got
you,
like the
Brad?
House of M tie-in, the X-Men 92 tie-in added to my pull list. So
Right.
yeah, it's gonna drive everybody's monthly bills up on comics. Other than that, I'm doing well. I'm proud. I want to give a shout out to fellow charlatan Steph Curry of the Golden State Warriors, doing a city
What, are
and
you
the state
really
proud.
serious right now?
Right off the bat for you, Casey.
Not the time or the place at all.
Doing his state proud. Got his team and headed toward an NBA championship. So
Yes.
I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad.
Unless you're talking about murder ball or roller ball, this is a non-conversation.
For those of you listening and watching, that is your first instance of Brad bringing up sports. You should be taking a shot now. Yeah, everybody take a shot. Awesome.
Yeah, our Southern bastards. That's the other time Casey allows us to talk about sports. But
Yes.
doing great. We got some cool books to talk about from Mr. Watkins tonight, and I'm looking forward to it.
Yes, excellent. Great segue. Speaking of,
I know,
great
Brad's
books.
so good at this. Like, I just feel like, man, I could just take like a month off and just never come back. And Brad could probably just do everything, and I wouldn't need to fucking worry about it at all.
Brad would replace both of us.
I know, it's a good feeling.
No
Well, dang.
replacing you guys. You're the originals, the real McCoys. So I'm just glad to be part of the team.
We're glad to have you.
I'm the Quicksilver of the team.
Ah,
I'm helping
yes.
out. You just added me. We'll see what's gonna happen to
Yeah.
me. So
May not make it to the end of the podcast, Brad.
exactly.
Just,
Does this mean you're gonna just walk around going, "You did not see that coming"?
Yes.
Well, good, Brad. We look forward to that. All right. We'll get into some good stuff later. But without further ado, right now, let's introduce our esteemed guest this week. He is Mr. Eric Watkins, writer of many awesome books we're going to talk about from Broken Icon Comics, correct, Eric?
Yeah. Yep.
Awesome. Welcome to the show, my friend. How you doing today?
Good. Thank you guys for having me on.
he's like, it's about fucking time. It took you 8 minutes to get to me. Jesus Christ.
You guys
Are we in breach of the contract now? We're supposed to talk to you in the first 3 minutes, right? Eric, before we talk about all the amazing writing you're doing, let's talk about you a little bit. How was your week? How was your day? What's exciting?
Oh man, nothing's ever exciting here.
Oh, come on.
I live in a little teeny tiny southern town in Ohio, and where I work, I'm in literally backwood West Virginia for 8 hours a day. So we're talking small towns where if you get a town that has more than 400 people in it, you're surprised. So
that's a
never
big
happens.
town, huh?
Yeah, the biggest town around us is probably, I'd say the town I live in is 2,000 people. I think the biggest town around us is maybe 20.
Gotcha.
Do they still manage to fit Walmarts in?
Oh yeah, everywhere.
Exactly, because
We have very little of anything else, but we've got Walmart.
Yeah.
We're here in California. We have a ton of Starbucks. You got a lot of Walmart, huh?
Yeah, the nearest Starbucks stuff I think is 2 hours away.
Nice.
Oh my God, Starbucks friend. There you go.
That gives whole new meaning to Starbucks run.
Hey, it might be worth it now. They have a s'mores frappuccino, guys. Like, I am.
Yeah, that sounds.
That's
sounds
diabetes in a cup right there.
I'm more of a Dunkin' Donuts kind of guy myself.
Yeah, we don't have Dunkin' Donuts in California.
I don't
Here,
drink
at least.
coffee.
Well, not here anyways. We got a few. I bet you're gonna come this way though.
Yeah,
Hey, Eric.
I don't drink coffee, so no coffee
Yep.
for me.
I don't drink coffee either, so you're good. you're in good company. No coffee. So you were talking to us a little bit before the show started, and I thought a very interesting factoid about you. You said you were fairly new to the geek culture because you used to be the arch nemesis of the geek back in the day.
Yeah, I did.
Tell us about that.
I was a sports guy. I have two brothers that were big sports guys. My oldest brothers are 6'7", 6'8", and 6'6", so they were big football players and basketball players, and I'm only a little guy, a little 5'8" guy, but I played football in high school, and I did track, and I wrestled, and then I went to a technical school that just happened to have a football program, and I played football and basketball in college for Wyoming Tech. So
yeah.
I was the sports guy. I didn't actually start reading comic books at all until 2008, and it was April of 2008 when I started reading books. So
yeah.
So I didn't.
Not only did you not read, you said you didn't watch any movies either in that time.
No, I barely ever watched movies. Like I legit, I didn't watch any.
He was too busy getting laid, guys. Come on, what's going on?
And giving Casey swirlies in high school.
No, I wasn't a bully. I wasn't a bully.
Okay, this is a misconception of the jocks in high school. Like, jocks weren't the bullies; they just ignored you completely, like you weren't even there.
Yeah.
Like, wasn't like being bullied. Yeah,
I ignored everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah.
It was funny. I'd be sitting in class in my senior year. A lot of the the quote unquote popular girls, like, you'd be sitting there and they'd be like, "So I seen you in the hallway and said hi. You didn't say anything." And I'm like,
yeah.
"That's probably because I don't like you. Like, I'm not talking to you because I don't want to."
Yes.
I really kept to myself. I really didn't talk to too many people.
Yeah. When you got done with your sports phase, by the way, we mentioned sports again. You should have taken another shot already. When you got out of the sports and being in the gym 24/7, what was like one of the first movies you recall watching, after your movie hiatus? Anything groundbreaking that stuck out in your mind that just made
Let's go back a second.
Again.
Let's go back. Hold on. Well, it's not a phase. He's not like a child.
Maybe phase was a poor choice of words.
I still love sports. I still do a lot of sports. The one that I remember the earliest is X-Men 2.
Okay.
Yes.
I was the first date for who is now my wife. That was our first date, was X-Men 2.
Awesome.
So that's the earliest one I remember is X-Men 2.
Yeah. Good first date. Good geeky
Yeah,
first
right?
date.
Is your wife the one that got you into reading comics?
No, actually, one of a friend of mine, he writes for Broken Icon as well. His name's KJ Mendenhall. We actually worked together, and he's older than I am, and he had we were at work one day, and I was like, we were talking, and I was talking sports, and he can't stand sports. So I was like, well, what are you into? And he's like, well, I read comic books. And I legit kind of did that double take because he's, about 10 years older than I am. I did that double take and kind of looked at him. He goes, "They're not for kids, I'm telling you."
You had the fuck look? Like,
yeah, I did. And he so the next day at work, he brought me Ultimates #1, Volume 1. And he said, "Read this," he said, "and it will hook you."
Yeah. And
he's like, because I didn't read books, so he figured, he'll read it. It'll take him a couple days to read it, and I read it that night when I was at the house because it was good. I really liked the Ultimates, so I brought it back to him the next day, and I was like, "What else do you got?" So I went to his house, and it was literally 6-foot bookshelves, three of them side by side, and he's like, and that's not even the long boxes. There was 40 or 50 long boxes in his house, and he had 3 6-foot shelves full of hardcovers and softcovers.
But
he's like, pick what you want to read.
That was 2 great entries into geekdom, because like X-Men 2 is still one of the best superhero movies I think that there's been so far, and then you have Ultimates by Mark Miller that set a lot of the movie stuff up. So like you had 2 great hooks to get you into it. It's not like you started out by watching your first geek movie as Attack of the Clones or Spider-Man 3 or something like that. So that's always interesting.
What was the? Would you say there's anything in particular that really got you into the space where you said, "Hey, I maybe want to write comics too. I can do this."
Well, that's actually more of a depressing story, but I'll give it to you.
It always is, Eric. It always is.
I started going to the local shop with KJ, and the shop owner got free tickets to Baltimore Comic Con, and this would have been 2008. and or no, 2009. This was 2009. And he goes, if you want, go represent my shop. He goes, take them and you can go. So I went and did the representation because Diamond was the one that provided them. And I went with a friend of mine named Jason Lee. And we went and we actually sat down with Robert Kirkman. So this was before Walking Dead really kind of boomed up.
Wow.
It was popular, but it wasn't what it is now. And
Right.
we sat down and we talked to Robert Kirkman, and Robert Kirkman was kind of giving us a bunch of advice. And Baltimore's a 6-hour drive from where we live. So Jason and I were talking the entire time on the way there and on the way back about, man, we should do something. Well, on our way back, it was set. Like, we sat with Matt Fraction, and we talked to him, and we talked to Jason Aaron, and we'd sat with Robert Kirkman, and that was kind of the defining moment.
Mhm.
And so on the way back, we were basically planning what we wanted to do. Let's dive head first and see what happens. 3 months later, he died of a massive heart attack. And so he wasn't able to do anything. So it was right before that I had really started getting super serious and actually had started doing some stuff. But when he died, it kind of kicked it into overdrive.
Right.
It was no longer, well, let's just make a book. It became, how big can I do this? So, I hooked up with James Maddox, who's now my business partner, has been my business partner for a long time.
Mhm.
And we went balls to the walls. I mean, we literally went into it, and we didn't want to do it small, so we just kind of blew up and did whatever we wanted to do, and we've kind of grown it into what it is today, and that all started just basically off the fact that a buddy of mine, couldn't do it because, his body had given out, and Jason was a good dude. Jason had a spinal issue when he was born, so in some areas his spine was only about as big as a dime.
Wow.
He wasn't supposed to live past the age of 3,
Mhm.
and then he got the disease again when he was 12, and he wasn't supposed to live past the age of 13, and he lived to 31. So,
Yeah.
so he was a fighter, and that was the one thing that kind of pushed. So a lot of the stuff that I started doing early was kind of to give some kudos to him for doing something that very few people ever have to deal with, and very few people ever live from. So
Right.
that was kind of how I basically was like, I could do this, and if it failed, it failed. And that was the big thing, is like there's far worse things that could happen, than failing at making a comic book. So it kind of gave me a drive to do it and not care what happened.
Wow. Yeah.
It's amazing how many good things come out of tragedy sometimes, and
Yeah,
it sounds like
yeah.
you made the most of your opportunity and ran with it, and you honored your friend. So I'm sure it would be very
Yeah.
proud.
I know, it kind of makes me want to be a bad dad, because then I'm like, she'll be better for it someday.
Hey, you know what? I say that to my wife all the time because I'm really hard on my kid. My dad was a retired military guy, Vietnam tours, Navy SEAL, back when they were froggies, and he grew up in a hard life where his dad was a Special Forces Marine in World War II. So I grew up with this tough love mentality. So I'm like, my son, since the time he was born, I've never baby talked to him. Like, I've always called him sir.
Yeah.
And whenever he got in trouble, I made him stand in front of me at attention.
Yeah.
Like, he had to stand there and let me talk to him, and I always talked to him as an adult. And so my son is 4 now, and he talks to everybody like they're an adult.
Wow.
And everybody's they're like, he's so polite, and I'm like, oh no, he hates it. I was like, this is the only way he's ever been talked to. And he'll like, I'll do something, I'll be rough on him about something, and I'll leave the room or I'll go to work, and my son will look at my mom and he'll go, Mommy? She'll be like, yeah, baby. And he'll be like, Daddy's a dickhead. And she's like, yes, he is. She goes, yes, he is. Yeah. So you be hard. I'm hard on mine, but there's those soft moments, but at the same time, I'm hard on him, and it works. Like I said, he might one day want to kill me in my sleep, but you know what? He's going to be a promising member of society until that point.
Sounds like you're raising the next Steve Rogers, and as Agent Coulson said, sometimes the world needs a little bit of old-fashioned. And maybe
That's right.
your son
Yeah.
You convinced me. Military school it is. I'm shipping it off.
Yeah, let's do this. So Eric, talk to us about the first book you wrote when you started writing comics.
Oh my God, it was awful. It was the worst thing that I've ever seen in my entire life. I started, the concept was really cool, but when I went back and I reread it, it's called Mars, and it's basically, it was a take on the Roman god of war and how the Roman Empire fell. My mother's from Venice, Italy, So, Roman culture's always been really big with us, and basically the idea that I took was that the reason why the Roman Empire fell was because they started refusing the principles that Mars gave them. The simple rules of engagement, the simple honor-bound, system that they had in place. They stopped doing it because towards the end of the Roman Empire, there was generals assassinating Caesars so that they could take power, and it literally just became a bloodfest. Mm-hmm. Horrible experience with the artist, horrible experience with creating it, and then when I went back to look at it after I started doing books, it was the worst pile of crap writing that I think I've ever seen in my entire life. I actually stopped production midway through it, and I went back and rewrote it all, and I'm going to reproduce it now that I actually know what the hell I'm doing, and I completely stopped and redid it. And I also wrote a zombie book at the same time because, the world needed more of those.
Of course.
And it's one of those things that as it hit the graphic novel form, and it's on Amazon and Barnes & Nobles, but I was telling my business partner, I was like, man, can we phase this out? Can we make it disappear like it never happened? There's just, when you first start, and keep in mind, I wasn't a writer at all. Grammar, punctuation, I didn't care about any of that. I avoided it at all costs. So when people started finding out that I even wrote, it became one of those things that they're like, wait, you're writing? And I'm like, yeah, I know, it's horrible, isn't it? The world's flipped upside down. But it was literally the first few things that I did were just so bad. The writing was so horrible. But I think everybody thinks that when they go back and look at something that they wrote first, they go back and say that it was really bad. But it was horrible. Man, it was bad.
Yeah. And that initial bad experience with the artist and you just struggling to kind of find your groove writing, was there ever a moment where you were like, why am I doing this? Why am I taking all this extra time to do this? And what kind of kept you going? Was it the inspiration from your friend that had passed? Or what was your motivations to stick with it and get better? And obviously the books that we read for this interview are great books, so you've come a long way.
I started firing people. That made me feel really good.
You're a mean man.
I know, right? That was literally it. It was like, I'm just gonna fire him. If you don't want to do what I want, I'll fire you.
Yeah, done.
Yeah, so I mean, that was kind of it, I kind of I wasn't gonna let anybody drag it down, and my thought process when I was doing it was if one person is going to be really bad at this, then someone else won't be. There's always people that want to do something, and the one thing that I found in this industry is most people are completely full of crap when they tell you they just want to make a book, because it's not what they want. They don't want to just make a book because there's millions of excuses that everybody has while doing stuff. So I literally just kept plugging away, and I kept pulling people out and putting new people in until I found a core group of people that I thought that I could build not only what I was doing, but build this company around. Mm-hmm. And I luckily found those people. Right. So, it just was pulling people out and plugging new people in was literally all I had to do, and I just kept doing it. And it took a couple years to finally get a good core group, but I have an excellent core group.
Yeah.
Yeah, when you surround yourself with great people, it helps. One of my favorite quotes in history, Ronald Reagan, there's no limits to what you can accomplish if you're willing to give credit to others and work with others. So.
Brad, you're such a show-off.
Hey, it's a good motto to live your life by. He brought up the Roman Empire. I can bring up Ronald Reagan.
Nobody likes Ronald Reagan, especially in California.
He's from California.
Oh, that's even worse. People hate people from California. Believe me. Will knows. It's a strange place out here. Watch, come out here one time, it'll blow your mind. I bet you.
It's literally the Wild West.
It's so fucking crazy.
I'll come to Fresno. And
yes,
I'll
please.
go to the hick part of Fresno, where I will be welcome.
So Eric, with your first book being kind of inspired by Mars and the Roman Empire, to your book Trader's Grace, which to me seems very, historically inspired by the Civil War, is that something you seem to tend to like to gravitate towards, is doing projects that are a little bit inspired by history? Because this book Trader's Grace is really cool. Like, obviously, talk about that and talk about this book, because it's a really cool concept.
Yeah, I'm a big history buff. I'm especially a big history buff. I come from a very, very long line of people who have served in the U.S. military.
Mhm.
My grandfather on my mother's side was a 14-year-old Italian immigrant who fought in the Korean War for the U.S. Army. His parents let him go. They let him sign up, and they signed him in early, and he went to Korea at 14 years old to fight for a country that wasn't even his.
Wow.
Yeah. My dad's dad joined the Marine Corps when he was 16 or 17, fought in World War II, fought in every major battle during World War II. Peleliu, Okinawa, Saipan, Iwo Jima.
Your kid is going to be Steve Rogers.
Exactly.
So it's just one of those things that I've always enjoyed history. I've always enjoyed Revolutionary War and the Civil War and things that are from our history that most people don't pay attention to. I've got a cat that I'm gonna peg with something, but
make it stand at attention.
Yes.
Right? I hate that cat. But so yes, I've always been really big into the military stuff. So it always has a big influence on what I've written. A lot of the stuff that I have has some kind of military background to it, or it has military in it in some aspect. And it's just because I've always had such kind of an admiration coming from, like I said, a family that's been extremely decorated doing that. So Trader's Graves was just another take, which is kind of funny because none of my family fought in the Civil War.
Right.
Like, they weren't even here. But the Civil War always fascinated me. Being from southern Ohio, we're technically in the north but below the Mason-Dixon line. So everybody here has more of southern ideals than they do northern ideals. And I was born in West Virginia, which Robert Byrd called the northernmost of the South and the southernmost of the North. He said we don't really belong anywhere. And so, like, coming from this kind of region, it's always been, a really big influence for me. And I was literally sitting at the house one day, and with Trader's Grace, I was just like, all right, I was like, I think it'd be cool to see something steampunk Civil War. And I know through comics go through these spurts and where something's in. 5-6 years ago, it was zombies. Everybody had a zombie book. You could go to a convention, and 80% of those tables had something zombie on the table. And steampunk actually had a run here in the Midwest, probably about 2-3 years ago. So it kind of died out.
Still zombies, because that shit is fuck, man.
Yeah, you know what? And I don't understand it, man. Walking Dead's made me hate zombies. My mother, when they immigrated to the United States, they immigrated to Pennsylvania. We lived 20 minutes from where they filmed Night of the Living Dead. It's Romero country in western Pennsylvania. It's the zombie capital of the world is western Pennsylvania because everything Romero did, he centered it in western Pennsylvania. Okay. And I grew up, I loved it. I loved the zombie genre. I loved George Romero and Tom Savini. But, man, Walking Dead just made me hate zombies. And, like, I'm not saying that it's not good, but I've heard people compare, like, Robert Kirkman's writing on Walking Dead to Brian Michael Bendis and Alan Moore, and I just laugh. I'm like, there's no comparison. Like, it's so much easier to write zombies than it is anything else. But zombies just, it's starting to fade out here a little bit. The big zombie stuff for me right now is only one that I actually read is 68 by Mark Kidwell, which is a Vietnam-era zombie story, and it's phenomenal. It's fantastic. Every miniseries he does, every one-shot he does, it's gold. And him and Jeffrey Zorno and Nate Photos do all those. So, gotcha. I really enjoy those. But steampunk was something I wanted to try. I wanted to try something a little bit different. It's kind of out of my wheelhouse. So I teamed up with Thomas Clow and Nicholas Wentland, who are friends of mine in Iowa, and we started writing it, and they would do a lot of the bulk heavy lifting. I kind of wrote the concept, and then I'd go through and do a lot of the editing through it, and it turned out really great. It's going to be a take on this. It's a take on the Civil War. It's a take on the whole idea of copperheads and brothers fighting brothers, and it's basically about a soldier named Dylan who's in the Union Army, who actually is a sniper, but instead of killing Confederates, he kills Union and Confederates alike. Anybody that is a harm to his brother, who is a Confederate soldier, he kills him. He doesn't care. He kills to protect his family, not to protect what side he's fighting for. And it's not the normal North and South, freedom from the federal government, slavery arguments. It's more of an industrial complex kind of story, how one side wants to build and wants to build by any means necessary, even if it means using its own people, and the other side doesn't want to. So it was a really cool concept. It's a little bit different than I think most people do when it comes to the Civil War, and it's a little bit different than what most people do when it comes to steampunk.
Yeah.
What kind of made you mix history, because like that whole military industrial complex and everything doesn't really come about till later on, so what made you want to pull that idea into Civil War era time period?
I mean, I like to do different stuff. I like to kind of interwheel and intermix stuff that you don't always see, whether it's pulling in something that comes from one period of history versus another period of history, or whether it comes with, like for instance, in the Cowboy Gauntlet book I did, I mixed Mayan and Aztec technology with bandits in the Old West. So I always like to kind of mix things that you don't normally see together to create a unique story that nobody else has seen. And in comics, it's so hard. In comics and literature, movies, it's so hard to make a unique idea. And I wanted to try to make a unique idea, and that's what I really tried to strive with those books, is to kind of mix ideas to make them extremely unique.
Yeah, there was nothing in any of these books that I read that was really too tropish or just going with the, because like you said, everything is a reboot or rehash of everything. Original idea is extremely hard to come by, so. This was all well done. I like the wrestling book too, the vampire wrestling book. I'm a semi-wrestling fan. I used to be a much bigger one. I don't know. Talk about that book a little bit. Are you a big, WWF, WCW fan going back?
Whoa. What? You're gonna get sued now. You can't call it WWF anymore.
You get sued.
The World Wildlife Foundation is gonna come after you.
Yes.
My apologies.
Those pandas.
Well, my son loves it, and since my son loves it, it's kind of one of those things you have to check it out too.
Yeah.
And that book came about because there was a movie that was being filmed in our local area, featuring like Roddy Piper and Kurt Angle and a bunch of former professional guys, Matt Hardy, and our company was basically going to try to entertain the offer of running a comic book with the movie. And so we went in to talk to him, and while we were there, we were watching some of the filming and the pre-screening and stuff like that. There was an independent wrestler who was there named Brandon Graver, who was doing some just insanely stupid stuff in the ring, just messing around to entertain people while they were waiting in between scenes. And I started talking to Brandon, became semi-friends with him, and I pitched him the idea. I said, let me use your persona to make a comic book off of it. And he said, man, he goes, I love comics, I love artwork, let's do it. So I basically started writing a supernatural style episodic tale where it was just him versus different creatures, just to kind of introduce you to the character and introduce you to him, since it's based off of a real person who actually has a fan base. He's extremely big in Pennsylvania. They love him in Western Pennsylvania. And it kind of morphed from there, it morphed from this episodic tale to there's actual, starting with volume 2, there's actually like clumped storylines that will actually basically where they're going to fight Halil, which is a king from Babylon who is actually who they believe when God quote unquote cast out Lucifer. There's actually no mention of it in any Bible. It's actually inferred that it was a king in Babylon named Halil who had 7 lieutenants, and his main lieutenant was named Samael. There was Lilith and Balaam. So I basically based it off the actual historical. This king was casted off by his people. So that's our devil, and he's going to come back and he's going to bring his lieutenants with him, and Brandon's going to have to use his persona to fight, and basically he uses it as a cover so nobody knows what he's doing. So I tried to mix in some unique characters with that and some unique creatures, and again kind of put something a little bit different out there. So it's got that similarity to Supernatural where it's fighting creatures, but the means to the end and how he's doing it is a completely different ball game, and it's based off of a real life person, so it makes it cooler for people when they pick it up to know that this guy actually exists, and the stuff that he's doing in the book, move wise, that because I throw some moves that he does to some of the creatures, it's actual real stuff that he does. So it's kind of cool, and I know it's helped him. It's helped build his fan base even more, and it's given the book a lot of credibility. So I've been really excited to see that it's grown this far. We debuted it at 2 shows, and it sold out at both shows that we've taken it to. So it gives me a lot of confidence going forward that it's something different, and it's something that people like, and it's a refreshing idea.
So, like with the G-Raver book, when you go out to write that, as I'm reading that, I only have the first issue.
Yeah.
And I think this is a really good standalone story in and of itself.
Yep.
But I can also see how there's going to be a continuation of it as well. So when you go out to write that first issue, are you thinking ahead, or are you like, let me focus on the main story I'm telling now? Because so much of our media now is like, we need a big universe. We need to think about the sequel rather than focusing on the initial story.
Now, when I wrote that, I wrote it as a 1-issue pop to see what it does, to kind of get some feelers out for it, and it was really good. The response was really good. So I figured what I'd do is for the first volume is just do a 5 or 6 issues, all standalone stories, so you could pop in at any time and not lose anything. And then and there is a slight connection. Like at the end of the first issue, the messenger, which is his handler, tells him, "I hope you're not afraid of heights." Because in the second issue, he fights a goji, which is an ancient French word for basically a gargoyle. It's a demon trapped inside of a gargoyle form. And, we actually mix in some historical and religious documents with that, too, just, to add some flavor that people who follow any of that stuff will be like, oh, hey, I've heard of St. Nicholas, and I've heard of this. But the first 5 are literally just standalones. They're standalones that you could pick up and you could read through them, and you don't have to have the one before. You don't have to have the one after. If you like the one, if you want the cult zombies, you can have the cult zombies. If you want the astral beings, you can have that one. If you want the goji or the vampires, but you don't have to have ones you don't. And then the second volume is where it's actually going to kick into where it'll be that volume will cover one storyline, the next volume will cover another storyline.
Yeah.
The good old days when comics were just one story at a time each month.
Yeah, and that's always my goal to go back to.
Yeah, Eric, you're this book is in black and white, or at least the copy I got is in black and white.
Yes.
And it's extremely detailed, which is I don't know. Sometimes I feel like black and white. Sometimes they're kind of lacking on the detailed. Was there a specific decision or a reason why you made the decision to put this book in black and white and not color?
It's actually color. You guys got the pre-screened copy. Okay. When I did it, I told the artist that I wasn't sure, so he went ahead and did the detail as if it was black and white.
Right.
But there were so many images, like in the second issue when he fights the goji, he attaches a thermite strip to his back, and it makes this stone creature explode. And I wanted the colors off the stones as they were exploding.
Yeah.
So when we did the coloring, it actually is one of the most unique coloring jobs, because instead of just being a color the whole way through, if there's a light, he actually makes the light shine. And so there's no light source from the coloring except for that light bulb. So it actually looks, it's very rare. The neon signs look neon signs. There's a bar scene in the first issue. The neon signs actually look like neon signs. So the coloring on it was really, really good. And it's one of those things that like you said, doing color versus black and white, it's a risk.
Yeah.
But color always brings more legitimacy to an independent creator, because a lot of independent creators don't do it. So color brings more legitimacy to it. So when I first started doing it, I always wrote everything for color just so I could have that legitimacy. And now it's more of I have a book called The Man in the Kitty Coat. That's black and white. It will never be color, and it was made for black and white. Yeah. Certain things that I'm doing, I want color. Certain things I don't. But I've been releasing the G-Raver stuff as black and whites, so people can have them, and the reception's been really good. And the color copies that I've actually kind of put out as feelers don't last very long. So I'm excited that once it goes to full color, that everybody will be really excited about the way it looks.
Yeah. Tell us about your artist on this book.
Nicholas Wentland. That's my one-man wrecking crew. He's one of those guys that at the beginning when we were struggling, I eventually found Nick, and Nick's actually one of our original fives. He's one of the original 5 creators that we had back in 2009, and he had a brief hiatus because of medical issues, and then he came back and was good to go. And Nick's phenomenal, man. He does everything. He draws for us. He inks. He colors. He does lettering for us. He's been with us since the beginning, and here recently we made him the czar of our Communist Party of printing. So he's been taking a kind of a front office role, but he's still doing some writing with me on Trader's Grace with Thomas Clow, and he's doing some art on the G-Raver series, and he's doing art on his own series, Rigel Rain, and then he does coloring on both of those series. He does some lettering for Alone in Tempest, which are some other books that our company puts out. So he's literally a one-man wrecking crew, and he's probably one of the most talented artists that I've ever met, and he's one of the most dependable artists that I've ever met. He's an incredible guy, and he's incredible at what he does.
Well, awesome, man. Eric, my favorite book that you wrote that I got to read, I read Raver Trader's Grace, but How Do You Roar was probably my favorite one.
Yeah.
I have to say, like, as I'm reading this, and it is kind of it is a kid's book, a kid's comic kind of, but it really struck me, and it kind of goes back to where we were talking about sports and geek culture and you getting into that, but all things aside, that how important everybody's individual interests are, no matter how different. And was that kind of your intention, to portray that to younger readers?
Yeah, it's one of those things. I think all of us have had experiences where people throw out some kind of stereotype, and people get labeled with stereotypes. I went to school with kids who were labeled with stereotypes. I was labeled with stereotypes. I was that little Guido kid that used to walk around in the hallways. So like we all get hit with a stereotype, and I wanted to try the kids book. We had done put a kids book out a couple years ago. It was pretty good success for us, and I wanted to write a children's book because everything that I write is so serious. I wanted to do something a little bit different, and the one thing that I wanted to express in that book was that the uniqueness of people, and that every person is different, and every person has interests that you may not think they have interest in. That just because someone is a certain skin color or has a certain sexual orientation or they're a certain sex, whether it be male or female, that they're instantly interested in that. Not all guys are interested in fixing cars. Not all girls are interested in cooking. Girls are interested in basketball, and there's guys that are interested in fashion. And that book really kind of portrays that there's a uniqueness to every individual, and regardless of what you are or who you are, you can like things that are not quote-unquote what you're supposed to like. And I think we did a really good job with that. The artist for that was a gentleman named Ezekiel Pineda, and the colorist was a young lady in Kansas named Amy Helsburn, and they all did a really great job helping me bring that book out and make that book look really, really good, and give a really positive image that I hope a kid can read it or a parent can give it to their kid. And if that kid's having any kind of insecurities with who they are or what they like, that book, even if it gives them a slight, kind of nudge as a small child, that no matter who you are or what you like, you're unique and you're special, and you should always look at yourself as that way.
Yeah, the colors on that book were gorgeous, and I could see, like, reading it as a kid, everybody has different interests, but like reading it as an adult, it really struck me of, be open-minded when it comes to accepting different people. And I thought that was a powerful book for a kid's book, and I really enjoyed that, Eric.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Yeah, it's definitely a beautiful book that has some very amazing deep-rooted messages into it, and it's nicely disguised in this cute little very animated kids book style. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and that was the goal with it, was to kind of do that, because you don't want to I don't want to feel like we're preaching to young people, because I don't think it helps. Yeah. I don't think it helps when you preach to them. I think that kind of give them a nudge in a direction that's a tolerant and non-ignorant way, and then kind of let them go from there.
Right. Real quick before we move on to news, let's talk about the other book we got to read, which was The Man in the Kitty Coat. Which is tell us about that book. It's very Kind of a little bit of Outbreak, a little bit of zombies thrown in there.
Yeah, so let's switch from a cutesy kids book with morals behind it to a book about kids who get infected with a virus. Their eyes white, their veins darken from their blood turning black, and then they beat their parents to death.
Wow, it's awesome.
Yeah,
Comic
right.
creators love killing kids. I don't get it at all.
Switch it up. Basically, what it is the virus is called. They call it the Phoenix virus. And basically, what it does is it only affects children, and it whites their eyes out and it blacks their blood and it thickens their blood. They start to bleed from their eyes and they get extremely rageful. And usually it ends with them killing their parents or someone that's around them.
Right.
And you follow an investigative reporter around named Joe who is trying to figure out where the virus came from. His parents were both cops in his hometown, which it's set in Sawpit, Colorado. And his parents were both cops. They were both killed. He was an academy guy at the Naval Academy, and he quit and became a reporter. And instead of being a cop, he wanted to be the person who reveals the stories instead of the person who's behind the stories, with whatever the police are doing. And whatever, he didn't want to be that. And he starts to investigate it and starts to pick up pieces that the police are missing because the police are looking on their straight line of how they do things, and he's kind of looking on the narrowed path, looking here and there. And it's a 3-issue run. It's done by Kevin Stewart and myself, and it's it's messed up. It is legit messed up. The ending is gonna blow people's minds. The end is so sadistic. When I wrote it, Kevin got a hold of me and he goes, "Are you kidding me? Is that how you're ending it?" And I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Man," he goes, "I hate you. I hate you so much." I'm like,
bad, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty bad. Like I was pretty ruthless with it, man. It's like it's not a happy ending.
How do you sleep at night, Eric? Because I know when I'm thinking about something like a video game and I'm playing a video game for a long time, I'm always thinking about it, like even when I dream or something. So when you're thinking of something like the worst fucked up ending on the entire earth and murdering or slaughtering a whole bunch of people or whatever you're gonna do, like how do you sleep at night? Like,
I actually don't have issues, man. I have a really good off switch. I have a really good job just switching with what I'm just putting in writing, and I'm telling you, I'll tell you this is what funny. I was doing a concept to do a run along book, and I was writing it, and it's the only time that I've ever been writing, and I've actually deleted something. It was when I seen the concept art. Yeah. I legit got a hold of the artist, and I was like, "Bad call, dude." I was like, "We're gonna rewrite that whole page," and it was legit the only time that I've ever looked at it. And I showed my wife, and my wife gets really serious, and she looks at me and she goes, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I was like, in my defense, I changed it. I'm deleting it, and she goes, "But why'd you think of it in the first place?" And I was like, I don't know. I was like, it just came to my mind. I was like, I've always operated Broken Icon as no rules, no apologies. That's the way I've always done everything. So people are like, "Oh, am I allowed to swear in this?" And I'm like, "Do whatever you want." I want people to touch social issues in their books that most people don't want to touch. So a lot of our books, you can go back and you look at them, and a lot of them, they touch social issues that people don't want to touch. And it's just literally, it's one of those things that, nobody's trashy about it. We always make sure that everybody's got a positive influence off of it. But if you're calling something out, call it out. Live to it. Yeah. So when I'm thinking of screwed up stuff, man, to me it's that stuff that everybody they don't want to talk about. It's like, oh, this really bad stuff happened, but we're not going to talk about this. We're going to talk about who's to blame. No, let's talk about that screwed up stuff. So maybe it'll scare the shit out of somebody to where they won't do it again. So, it's one of those things that I think of some really, really, really bad stuff. Man, I think of some really crazy stuff. But only once have I ever actually went back and deleted something that I wrote down. Yeah. Only one time I've ever said, "Man, this is a really, really bad idea."
Well, I think that's definitely one of the many awesome things that make your books so successful is, talking about the things that, we read all the superhero stuff from every other company in the world. But,
exactly.
Yeah, all this stuff is the stuff we really want to see sometimes. Tell our listeners and watchers where they can find your company and your books online.
You can get it at Twitter. It's Broken Icon Comic. No S, just comic. Facebook, it's Broken Icon Comics. You can go to brokeniconcomics.com. Me personally, I'm at Steeler Freak MOV. or at ericwatkins.net. So I'm all over the place. You can hunt us down. All of our stuff, all of our books are on Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. If you're a college student, you can buy all of our books through the Cappuccino systems at your college. So spend your hard-earned financial aid on comic books instead of books.
Yeah, you don't need them learning books.
Right? No, you don't need. Let's get some picture books instead.
That's great, man.
And Comixology, Comixology, and DriveThruComics.com. We're on all those as well.
Eric, real quick, is there anything exciting coming up down the pipeline that you want to tell us about?
Yeah, we recently started doing a lot of creator-owned stuff, letting creators pitch us books. We just recently, this year, we released Stuck by Jordan Lowe. We released Calamitous Black Devils by Joseph Smolke, which is awesome. It's a World War II soldiers go to hell book and fight demons, and it's fantastic. It's a 182-page graphic novel. And then we also are releasing Rigel Rain right now from Nicholas Wintland and Brad Morgan at Three Moon Studios. And then coming up this year, we have Russ Lippett, who is he's an LA guy. He did a book called The Showdown. We picked up The Showdown, and then I've got a couple other really cool books from some creators out here that we're looking to pick up and start distributing in October to April of next year.
Awesome, man. Sounds awesome. You definitely have a series of books that run the gamut from pretty much everything people want to read about. So you guys definitely need to check out Eric and Broken Icon Comic stuff. So keep an eye out for that. Thank you, man, for sharing all that awesomeness with us.
Hey, no problem.
You want to talk some news and weekend geek stuff with us?
Hey, whatever, guys. Let's do this.
Casey and Brad, let's we should probably try to run through our weekend geek stuff
briefly
so we can even get through
tag
news.
team it since we all read the same shit. I swear to God,
I'm the only one that didn't read Secret Wars, but you guys go ahead and talk about that.
Okay, Brad. So
I didn't read Secret Wars #1.
Oh my God, how dare you! I guess I'll talk about Secret Wars real fast then.
Go ahead.
All right. Starts off literally like from the word go. Like it starts off with a major bang. Like, so in Avengers and New Avengers, the thing that's been happening is like this big moment that's been happening where like worlds will literally collide with each other.
Incursions, right? Incursions.
Yeah, it's called incursions. Yeah. So it's been happening throughout the universe or whatever. It's destroying all these planets. So like the last two remaining are the Ultimate Universe and the 616. So Secret Wars #1 is literally the battle as the incursion's happening. So like the Ultimate Universe is attacking the 616, trying to like stop the incursion, and they like have to like call in evil Reed Richards, and they're like, evil Reed Richards, like save us, and he's like, yeah, I'll fucking save you guys. So like that all goes down, and then like it happens, and then it happened. I don't know. Like I don't want to like say too much else to get because it'll totally give it away, but like since you haven't read it, Brad, but it's basically like the beginning, and then I don't know where it goes from here because I can't tell you where it goes because it essentially goes nowhere from where they left it. So it's interesting to say the least. If you're new to comics, you're not gonna have any idea what's going on. Like you're gonna be like, who are these other people? Like why is this like other Iron Man here? Why is he fighting like this? Why is he fighting Miss Marvel? And like where like how Samuel L. Jackson show up like in this fucking comic book? like it gets very weird. Like if you don't know like there's other universes and stuff, like you're gonna have no clue. Like if you only read comic books because you like the movies, you're having zero idea what's going on.
You're gonna be vested in the 616.
Yeah, like you're gonna see
Universe.
You're gonna see Reed Richards. You're like, how the fuck did the guy from Prometheus like show up in this comic book? Like it's very like weird. So I don't think it's gonna do that well like with the masses, even though it has the name like Secret Wars, because I think this is a book for. This sounds terrible. I'm so sorry.
For diehards.
Not for diehards, but for people that have like I guess like if you liked Infinite Crisis and you were like into like the multiverse and like all those different like levels of DC and all that shit, like that's this book. That's what it feels like. That's what issue 1 feels like. So I don't know. It's fucking weird.
It seems like this is Marvel's like Crisis on Infinite Earths, where they're just putting everything together, right?
Pumping out everything.
It seems like that way, but like I don't want, like I said, I don't want to spoil it. It totally seems that way, but it's not. Like And if it is, I don't know what they're doing, because it does the way the issue ends is not the way you think it would end. I don't know.
I think that it will just
Anyways.
set the stage for like so much success because all those titles will be rebooted, and that will be where the majority of that money's made. Even if Secret Wars doesn't do that well itself.
Yeah, I don't know. It's interesting to see. Like, I'm interested to see how the tie-ins work, because I have no idea how it's going to play into this, how any of that stuff's going to work. Because, like I said, where this takes place, like, they're the only two worlds even left. So, like, where are the tie-ins happening? Like, are they happening before the convergences are happening? Are they happening as the convergences are happening? Like, I don't know. I call them convergences. That's not what they're called.
Yeah.
Or are they called convergences?
Incursions.
Oh my God! See what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And
You're already confused.
I know. And then the convergence is the same book, but now like it's going in a weird, super weird direction. I don't know. I'm just like,
no,
I just want all to end.
Secret Wars actually matters. Like convergence does not matter.
That's what I'm pissed off about. That's what I want to bring up. You brought up
number 5, Casey. Are you reading that?
Yeah. I read it already, but you brought that up too, like last week, like Justice League number 40.
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, fuck! I knew it didn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, so in that book, and I asked, I was like, what happened to Antimatter? In that book, Antimatter literally says there is a convergence happening somewhere else. Oh, that shit does not matter.
Yes.
Like he literally says it.
Yeah.
So it's like, I don't know.
See, and when we were talking about that last week, I hadn't read Justice League 40 yet, so I'm reading it this week, and I'm like, what the hell? So this $60 or $70 I spent on Convergence doesn't matter, you know, which is fine. I mean, it has great character moments, and that's comics, right?
He's just rubbing their hands together going,
yeah, I know, I literally feel that was money. I literally feel that was a Jeff Johns moment, because Jeff Johns wrote Justice League number 40, and he was like, "Gotcha, suckers!" Like seriously, like as soon as I read that, I was like, "This, like I knew it." Like this said, like Convergence does not like it's just another event. Like it's not gonna do anything.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's not affecting the main continuity anyway, and Agasicles and I were wondering why, and now we know why. So.
Anyway, Secret Wars is cool just for the covers alone, because like. You can't pass up a book by with the Alex Ross cover, like you could write a book called like Shit Man in his shit house and with his shit wife, and I would like covered by Alex Ross, and I'd be like sold, done, son.
You'd so like, dude, I want to cosplay as that guy.
Yeah. So it's a nice issue, heavy duty like cover with Alex Ross art. So I would pick it up just for that, and it's crazy, like it's insane. I also read Inhumans Annual #1, but it was okay.
Yeah.
Like I said, nothing matters anymore. Like everything, like it literally ends like continued in Secret Wars. Okay.
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
And Brad, you did read
Ultron, huh?
Stuff, right?
What'd you say, Will?
You read some of the tie-in stuff for Secret Wars, didn't you?
No, I added it to my pull list.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not out yet. It doesn't come out until
May,
the 20th. Like the first
May,
one, yeah. The first one doesn't come out until the 20th.
But when I added those to my pull box, like Casey was asking how do they fit in, and I just figure like their House of M, their X-Men 92, their X-Men Days of Future Past and stuff, like what if things would have been differently and those realities would have been allowed to exist. So I think, Casey, these tie-ins are just a bunch of what if books. Is all they really essentially
are. I guarantee you that's what they are.
So,
well, like so the previews are for all these books are going up on the site. Just a plug, shameless plug. So like I've been reading, I have to read them all, so I like get like 1,000 previews a day. I'm like, oh, I gotta read all these fucking previews. Yeah. And yeah, like because I'm like picking and choosing. So like I'm like, oh, I'll get Old Man Logan because I like that book, and I'll get Days of Future Past because I like that book. But like the Old Man Logan one, it sounds like it's a continuation of like, yeah, if like what if Old Man Logan like didn't end, like here's what happened after. So I don't know. Like I think there's like we're gonna fuck everything up, so let's just have fun with these like old titles and make some money.
Yeah, and I think if you know that going in as a reader, that's cool. But I kind of feel bad for the guy or gal who's like, I want Secret Wars all, on my pull box list, and they're thinking all of this is going to be consequential, and really it's only the main book and the Ultimate End book that's going to be consequential.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like you should probably just wait for the trade, because what you'll do is you'll get like all those side issues, because it's only gonna be 2 issues of story. Like I think each story is only 2 issues,
That's
right?
the way Convergence is. Some of these miniseries are going to be between 3 to 6 issues long.
Oh my God!
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
I can't
Convergence
do that anymore.
tie-ins are only 2 issues though.
Yeah.
See,
Huh.
that's crazy. Like if Old Man Logan's 6 issues, man, I'm gonna be like, fuck. That's a whole trade. Like I was hoping they'd like, oh, they'll just be like 2 issues, so like those trade, like when it's all over, they'll put them all together in a trade together, and I'll just buy like all of them at once. But if they're like 6 issues,
omnibus price, a $250 omnibus.
ugh. Oh, I'm about to sell my child.
Guess I'm out.
What else? Sorry. What else did you read, Brad? Because that's all I read. I just read Secret Wars and Convergence.
I read a lot.
And Humans.
We covered Convergence 5. We talked about it briefly. We know in Justice League 40 they say none of it matters. Mm-hmm. But at the beginning of Convergence number 5, what happens to Telos and Brainiac, you really realize nothing really matters. That's all I'll say. I read Divergence, the free comic book day issue that kind of shows you what's going to be going on with Superman and Batman. Did you read it, Casey?
Oh no, I didn't. But that shit pisses me off too, because I go to free comic book day. I know I go to free comic book day completely out of everything, and I'm like, I hope I didn't need to read Divergent, because like I'm not gonna be able to read it now. Thanks, free comic book day.
Yeah.
Like I love free comic book day and everything, but like. I don't know, I hate people, so that's my problem.
Now Divergence is very valuable, like on eBay, even though it was a free comic book, because it's the first time a certain character becomes a certain hero. I know that probably has been spoiled for mostly everybody, but
it's fucking new Batman. I don't know that shit. I don't know. Like number one, like, can we talk about Batman 40 now? I guess we can. Did they really kill Batman? Did they really kill Batman? Like, really? Did we kill Batman, everybody? Because I really hope we didn't.
I think he's done for Snyder's run. I think he's
really.
Done for
I don't think I'm
Snyder's
gonna pick it up
run
anymore. I'm not into like mechanized Batman, like Jim Gordon Batman.
How did you feel about his decision, even though he sacrificed himself, but his decision pretty much to kill the Joker? I mean, to cross that line for the first time. I mean, you said you loved the book, Casey, so I was just wondering how you felt about that.
He didn't kill the Joker, did he? The whatchamacallit killed the Joker.
Well, he pinned him down there. He laid on top of
he let him die. It's the same thing. It's like in Dark, like that famous line from Batman Begins. He's like, you'll never kill me. He's like, yeah, but I'm not gonna save you either. So that's all he did. He didn't save him, and he didn't save himself either. Which I don't know. Fuck, man, that really pissed me off. Like, I love that run so much.
I don't know.
So
I don't question anything Batman. Snyder does, really.
I know.
But
he'll be done till sales tank. As soon as sales tank after the Convergence, then all of a sudden he'll be back.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're right, Eric. He will. That's exactly what happened. They're like, shit, we gotta fucking write him back in real.
It's happened so many times. Look at Lobo. They did the new Lobo sales tank. They're like, oh shit, this was a bad idea. They're like, can we just end this and just pretend it never happened?
So he's dead, right? Supposedly, but he's still going to be running around in other books. Like, I mean, DC's pretty much said, screw continuity at this point. We're just letting our creators tell the stories that they want to tell, which I kind of like, I guess. But at the same time, if Batman's dead in the main book and then he's going to be in the Justice League book with Darkseid War, I think it's a little confusing. So. But that's DC. But, hey, I like Divergence, so I thought it was good. I thought that, man, Darkseid's daughter is going to be a badass. And I'm so looking forward to reading that character.
She's hot, too. I'm into that.
like the splash page. I can't remember if it was at the end of Justice League 40 or Divergence. I think it's Divergence.
No, Justice League 40.
Well, yeah. Well, she's
The
got
splash
like.
page?
She's in at the end of both books, but there's a shot of her holding like Aquaman's trident and Superman's cape and Wonder Woman's lasso of truth, and she's wearing Batman's utility belt like around her shoulder, and it is just sick, man. Like it looks awesome.
She go to like a superhero yard sale or something?
Yeah, well, she's supposedly
can I say something? Do we need more cool cosplays for girls? Like, can we get some guy like cool cosplays? Like, I'm sick of the girls getting all the cool costumes.
Lately, huh?
Can we give it up like maybe once in a while?
Lately they're getting some
for
good
a
stuff.
guy to get a costume.
Well, I'll end with probably at least this week or this month or maybe this year. One of the more important books for me personally was the. I don't know if you read it, Casey, but the final issue of the Fantastic Four.
I didn't. I'm such an idiot. So like, I totally spaced. I just didn't pick it up. But like, I totally admit it was on my list. And I just didn't grab it for some whatever reason. I had my kid with me that day, and she was like running around the place like a maniac. And I was like, shit, I gotta get out of here before she breaks something. So.
I mean,
I just think I didn't grab it.
They gave Marvel's first family an epic send-off that had Avengers stuff in it, but didn't feel overloaded with Avengers. It was a Fantastic Four story, a epic conclusion to what they'd been building in that book. And one of the things that made the book awesome was it's a giant size, like $6 book. Just there's a bunch of little stories, one about Ben Grimm, one about Human Torch, and one about Sue, and one about Reed. But my favorite part of the book is Reed Richards and his daughter Val. They're at the beach, and they're just out there, and she's asking all these scientific questions about how things work. And Reed's like, sometimes, the science doesn't matter. It's about being here. It's about being in the moment. And it ended with being about family. As much as Fantastic Four is about science and grandiose storytelling, at the end of the day, it's about family. And I just thought that was
That's what I've been saying, son.
So,
like, the secret to that movie is not making like a gritty, like Cronenberg, like sci-fi film. It's about making Swiss Family Robinson in space.
You're right.
Like,
I
make
agree
it
with
fun.
that.
Make them like give them like a space tree house. Like give them like bring in like what's the little robot Herbie or whatever.
Well, I want to
So yeah.
You are fucking not.
It lived up to the hype for being a final issue, and I'm sad there's not going to be a Fantastic Four book. Of course, it's going to come back eventually one day, but kind of just sad about it. That's pretty much it. What about you, Will?
You know what? I'm just gonna keep mine quick because I want to talk about news real quick with you guys. But the only thing notable I read because I was behind a week was the Shield comic book, which you mentioned earlier, the good old days when you could just pick up a book and not feel like you were lost. This is definitely one of those books. This is just like a fun, every issue is like a different case that they're trying to solve or different little mystery. Of course, this newest one had Scarlet Witch in it. Big surprise, kind of tie in with the movie a little bit. It had, Scarlet Witch on there, and there's some kind of plot being devised by a very nefarious and underworldly villain to get rid of, I guess mystic type characters. So all your people like Scarlet Witch and Doctor Strange and all those like very like occultish superheroes are being attacked with this very specific type of gun that has bullets that can harm those type of people because usually they can dodge that kind of stuff or whatever. So anyways, there's a big mystery to uncover, and actually this is one of the first times where you're gonna have to kind of continue in the next issue because we find out who the villain is that's behind all this and what he's planning to do by attacking all these mystic type heroes. So very cool. I love the art, the writing by Mark Waid. The artist was Choi on this issue. Great artwork. Super great. I love Shield. If you want to just drop in and plug in on the Shield universe besides what you're seeing on the show, that's a good book to check out where you don't have to feel like you have to read 87 other issues to catch up. So anyways, that's the main important thing. I read Princess Leia. Wasn't wowed by it this last issue, but whatever.
How dare you?
I know. News? News, what do you got, Brad? Let's talk about
Well,
some news.
let's talk about the two controversial stories of the
Did we
week.
lose Eric? What happened here?
Yeah,
No, I think we might. Yeah,
Did we lose him?
Eric left. Yeah, I think so. So, Eric, thank you for joining us. We had a great time talking to you. Everybody, check out Eric and Broken Icon Comics. Bam.
yeah, it was nice having Eric on. But the two
Mention his
big-
comics. Wait, mention his comics. I didn't know what happened to him. He just bounced out. Like it sounded like maybe like someone broke into his house or
It
something.
was that cat, like it got
Yeah.
mutated by some ooze or something. And
Turned
and
into
the
like
old
Cat Hulk.
holiday.
Cat Hulk.
The cat hulked out on him. He had to go. He's like, I gotta go. Cat's hulking out. All right. I hope it wasn't. I hope he wasn't upset by our Fantastic Four conversation. I don't.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Not either. But we want to talk about Age of Ultron, right? So
Heck yeah.
Yeah, real quick.
What the hell else would we want to talk about?
And talk about this bit of news.
All right, let's do it.
Yeah,
Let's do it.
there's this bit of news. You heard about the Joss Whedon controversy. He had an interview with the Empire Online podcast, the Empire Magazine, the podcast that they do, in which he came out and talked about some problems he had in answering to Disney. For example, some of the things in the film, such as the dream sequences and the disjointed where Thor visits Dr. Selvig and visits the pool, that's a lot of sit-up for future Marvel Cinematic Universe stuff.
Right.
He wanted to take out of the movie because he said it hurt the flow. Well, pretty much Disney came to him and said, if you want that taken out, then you have to take all of the Hawkeye family stuff out, which is what he put in there because he felt Hawkeye was not a fully fleshed out character in the first Avengers because he was brainwashed.
Correct.
And he felt cornered by the studio, and so he had controversy on that side, and then he was attacked by quote unquote, this is not my words, this is what they were self-described, militant feminists who were upset about the relationship between Black Widow and the Hulk and how she was nothing more than a damsel in distress. So Joss Whedon catching it from Disney and from fans. So I don't know. What do you guys think about this Joss Whedon stuff? He says he wants to make a Batman movie now. So
I think like I think that happens kind of anyone who gets like too famous. Like you get too big. Like when your movies make $2 billion, like and everyone's eyes are on you. Like of course you're gonna have critics about everything. Like they're gonna pick apart everything. And I think it probably was a good idea for him to just be like, I just got to get over. And to be honest, like that guy's probably tired as shit. Like he's been making these movies for like however long, 5-6 years, like straight.
Yeah, at least.
Like he's got to be over it at this point. He's got to be just done. Like I'm sure like he puts his heart and soul into this stuff. He got something that we never thought would happen made, and he put his heart and soul into it, and then we come over and just shit all over him for it for whatever reason we can find. Like that must be like traumatic for you. Like I totally like feel for him, and I don't think any of the arguments or complaints against him are valid whatsoever. Yeah. Like I don't think he was being sexist. I don't think anyone was being sexist.
It's stupid that right away people start throwing this this bullshit about well, he's a white man that's worth millions. I'm like, what does that have anything to do with it? Yeah, the guy gets paid, but yeah, like you said, he's got he puts his heart and soul in things. I'm sure he sacrifices time with his family, with his kids, with whoever to make something that he was really passionate about. I mean, all these arguments are so stupid. They're so trivial. They're just
and in my opinion, what makes Joss Whedon so special is he's great at writing individual characters and individual character moments and making those characters kind of meld together, whether it's or mesh together rather, whether it's Firefly or Avengers characters, and he does that here as usual. But the thing with Black Widow is, to me, yes, she did get kidnapped, whatever, but she was a powerful character. She was the only one who could help the Hulk and help Bruce Banner calm down. She was the one stable force in his life, and I thought that said a lot, and it really rubs me the wrong way that Marvel wants to take the Hawkeye stuff out because it kind of makes me afraid moving forward. But
that's fucking Hollywood. That's Hollywood bullshit. Like that happens with every movie. Like this is how. Sorry, Brad, you're not from California, so you know how this stuff works. But like, this is how this shit works. Like these people have to people that run studios and people that have these jobs. Like they have to have a reason to justify their job. So like they like know everything. So like if they have an idea or they want something to pass, they're just gonna be like, well, fuck you. If I can't do it, you can't do it. The same thing happens with publicists. Like we get requests to do stuff, and they're like, yeah, you can have this person come on, but you're gonna have this person come on too.
Yeah.
Like it's the same thing happens. Like it's the same idea. So like I totally get that. I totally do. I don't think it's right at all. Like I think like creators should be able to do what they want. And I think it sucks that Joss Whedon got pushed out for whatever reason. But like he was gonna get pushed out.
Throw his 2 cents in there.
Yeah, like and to be honest, like he's gonna get pushed out. Like he's a giant personality now, and he's a giant like focus, and they're becoming like he's becoming a bigger name than like the brand itself. Like Joss Whedon's can go make any movie he wants now.
Yeah.
Like he doesn't need the Avengers around anymore.
It just makes me afraid that like the main focus, because what makes Marvel go really are the characters, and DC's kind of generalized a lot of their characters. Marvel has allowed their characters to live and breathe and become fleshed out, and Joss Whedon was the main guy who orchestrated that on the screen with his writing and with his directing. And now I'm afraid just moving forward that it will be about pushing toward the next story, pushing toward the next payday, which is ultimately, I understand what any studio's goal is. But the big action sequences and sacrifices don't matter if the character moments aren't there.
If we don't care about those characters, they don't matter as much.
Exactly.
And I think that was one of the things in this movie that made it all the more successful is, definitely getting a more human side to an Avenger. You know what I mean?
Right. And if you would have taken out the Hawkeye stuff, that movie would have been terrible. If you would have taken out the Thor stuff, that movie would have been twice as good. Because that's what. Those are two of the things that, like, the Thor stuff makes no sense. It does not belong anywhere near that movie. I have no idea what even happened or why we even needed that scene.
All of a sudden, there's this, like, pool that he can see his dream in. Like, where did that come from? I don't...
And it's like it was just like an excuse to get him away from, like, the action, because, like, he had nothing else to do.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we're going to have Thor sitting around a house in, like, his cape and stuff, so let's, like, go have him do something else. Like, I don't...
If I were Warner Brothers, I would approach him and say, here's the $50 million contract with incentives. Can you do for us what you did for Marvel? That's what I would say to him. Because he says he wants to direct a Batman movie, but
he had a Wonder Woman movie. He had the script ready to go. He was ready to direct it, and they passed on it. And I think that pissed him off too. Yeah. So and there's no way he's gonna get a chance to touch a Wonder Woman movie now. No fucking way. Like that'll fucking cause an uproar at this point. But like I don't even think he'll even direct a Batman movie. Like he wants to create his own universes. Like he wants to bring stuff like Buffy back. Like he wants to do stuff like that. Like he wants Firefly and those things to work. So like I think what we'll see is something new and like something new, a new IP, if you will, from Josh. I don't think you'll see like him direct like Batman or something.
Yeah, and that's kind of what we need. So, is there anything that I know Will wants to talk about Age of Ultron? So let's talk about the positives. Will, what'd you like about it? What would you rate the movie?
Besides everything, besides Thor in the cave. You know what, man? I definitely appreciate. To me personally, my take on it was there was definitely a lot more emotional layers in this movie. It wasn't all just about getting the team to work together. We already have the team working together, but there was definitely throwing in the mix the idea of family and is this team really a team and do they really have each other's back? And then you have the much debated, much hated love story, quote unquote love story between Natasha and Banner. And I at the end of the day, I'm an emotionally hopeless romantic kind of guy. You mix that thing with Avengers, which is like the thing I love the most about the MCU, and I mean I thought it made for a great film. I've enjoyed it both times that I've seen it now, and I'll probably see it another 2 or 3 times again. So I think the action was over the top. The addition of James Spader in this one as Ultron was another one of those Marvel gems of casting. I mean, I don't think they could have gotten anybody better to voice Ultron. He was just perfect. So I couldn't love it more. Obviously, with the stuff we just talked about, it would have been in the upper echelons of greatest movie ever, but that's what I love about it.
All right, here we go. My turn now. Okay. Action was good. CGI was really bad. Like the whole stuff was really good, but like there's a particular scene in that movie, like when one of the Ultron bots like grabs the spear or whatever. Like it literally looks like clay animation from like the 1960s. Like
you're talking about Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer kind of a clay animation.
Yeah. No, I'm no joke. I promise you guys. When the movie comes out on Blu-ray, like go back and watch that scene. Like it is really. And I basically he's brought this up on the spoiler cast too, but like it happens as well in like the whole like beginning scene. But that beginning scene, that opening sequence, fucking amazing. It's really, really great.
Yeah.
I think the movie was rushed. Like I think there was too much going on. I don't think Ultron got enough time on screen. I would have loved to have seen just more Ultron. Like I would have loved to have seen them take out all the Thor stuff and just add more Ultron to the movie. What were my other complaints about it? It was a really, really good movie. I think it's better than Avengers 2, or Avengers 1, but I don't think Avengers 1's that great of a movie when you go back and watch it over and over again, especially like it's literally them like it's literally like a meet cute for the first act. The second act is them fixing a plane, and the third act is them fighting aliens. So I think I enjoyed it more than Avengers 1, but I just love Ultron so much as a character, and I love how they humanize him. Like I loved his dialogue. I really just could watch an Ultron movie, to be honest. I had one more issue with it, but I totally forgot. Oh, the end. Fucking end. There's no way Hulk just like flies away on a Quinjet. Like I imagine him like sitting there with like his little like thumbs in his fingers.
Yeah.
Like his like index finger and his thumb like holding the little joysticks like and like flying off. Like I just totally didn't buy that part at all.
He's all
Yeah, like I just like his little hands.
Control jet.
Yeah, like I just totally didn't buy that whatsoever. So I totally had an issue with that, with the ending of that part. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's gonna be definitely like Guardians of the Galaxy and like Winter Soldier. It's gonna be a movie I watch over and over again for sure.
Yeah.
So yeah, but we need to
even with all the problems.
Even with all the problems, yeah. I still think it's a fantastic film. I don't know if I'd put it behind, like third on my list probably at this point.
Yeah, top 3. Good enough for me. Brad, what was your take on the film?
All right, real quick. The Hawkeye stuff, I loved it. Yes, he's a dude that shoots bow and arrows, but he's in my top 10 favorite superheroes of all time. So to see Joss go back and give that character depth, I thought they were totally setting him up for the kill. And maybe or maybe not that doesn't happen. You'll just have to go see the movie yourself. I'm not going to spoil it. But I thought that stuff was awesome. I love Scarlet Witch. I love Quicksilver. I was afraid that Aaron Taylor Johnson would be a block of wood like he was in Godzilla. But,
well, technically he does only have like 4 lines. So
yeah. I mean, but it did kind of remind me of Ultimate Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. It was a lot different from the Days of Future Past version, which I like the Days of Future Past version better. But I loved it, and I loved how they finally displayed just how much power Scarlet Witch has there at the very end. Loved the Hulkbuster fight. I'd been waiting to see that on a big screen my entire life. My complaints are like you guys. That opening CG, man, that looks Star Wars prequel-esque. Now, once they got into the compound, it was awesome. But just kind of that, I don't know, something felt disjointed about that opening CG. But, hey, the magic's gone now. They're a team, right? I'm talking about that initial thrill of, wow, they're all together, which is what Casey said made the first one. Now it's about keeping the team together, then falling apart with Civil War. And there's one thing though that sticks out to me is the whole thing had so many subtle sit-ups for Civil War with Tony, with the Avengers. With the Ultron bots setting them up and whatnot. And then at the end, they're just like, all right, everything's okay. You run the new Avengers facility. We're all good. But I
that
think
was my problem too. In the comics, every time Ultron shows up, he takes over Tony's armor. why did that never happen? Like, it was never like even an issue. Like, it was never like brought up. Like, oh, he just can't do it. Like, it was like, you know what I mean? It was never ever brought up, like ever.
Yeah,
Like,
and
but
but I think Civil
Ultron.
War is going to be awesome. I'm looking forward to it. It sounds like Avengers 2.5 with all the
Yeah.
characters. But I think Casey, we need to wrap it up, right?
Yeah, we're way over time. Unfortunately, we're not going to get to talk about news. But the Suicide Squad photos came out. I'm a little lukewarm on those. But the Geeks on Screen guys will talk about that stuff. So listen to them, and they'll talk about the Suicide Squad photos, I'm sure. I think actually Harley Quinn is probably the best one, and Deadshot. Like, those are the two best ones I like the most.
Yeah.
But the Harley Quinn is definitely the Jim Palmiotti and Amanda Connor Harley Quinn. It's her. So
the Harley Quinn I read all the time.
Yeah. But the Deadshot without the costume or without the mask,
Killer Croc looks rough.
Yeah, it all looks kind of janky, but we'll see. Like, it all looks different on camera, so.
Yeah.
All right, yeah, we got to wrap it up because we have a radio show to worry about.
Let's wrap it up. Brad, any quick thoughts before we take off tonight?
I just want to say I'm going to give my final thought by telling Joss Whedon, thank you. Thanks for bringing the characters that I've read for years and years growing up to life on the big screen and giving them depth.
Yeah.
And I'll always be appreciative of that. So those first two Avengers movies, are there flaws? Yes, but they did something very special. As for me, you can find me on Twitter at The Real Brad Bell, REEL Brad Bell. You can also find me on geekswithwives.com, my weekly Convergence reviews, and I have a review for Batman number 40 up. And check out all of my work on there. And thanks for listening.
Awesome. Thanks, Brad. Mr. Walsh, what do you got for us, man?
Find me on Twitter at BadBoyComics. Follow GWW Capes Crew, because that's where you'll find all of us and kind of the news and such. Make sure you guys check out our guest, Eric Watkins, at Sealer Freak MOV, or at Broken Icon Comics. Make sure you guys check out all his work. Thank you, Eric, so much for coming on. And I think that's it. Awesome. Check out all of our podcasts and Geeks with Wives and stuff.
Yeah, geekswithwives.com. Geekswithwives.com for all your latest in the geek world. And as always, thanks, guys, for listening. We hope you have an awesome weekend. Please come back next Thursday when we'll talk about more awesome geeky stuff. And as always, you can find me on Twitter at Darth Sparrow. And for the whole team, we wish you well. Have a good night. And as always, we'll catch you on the geek side.